Today, we are going to talk about your personal brand and specifically 5 things you need to decide to amplify your personal brand. Welcome to the Bombshell Business Podcast. I'm your host, Amber Hurdle, and I'm super pumped for you to be with me today. It's just me today. No guest, but I do have an amazing series coming up. Maybe not a series, but a series of guests, if you will. Next week, we're going to have an amazing author and a CEO of a company that I greatly respect in an industry that I love to death. And the week after that, we're going to talk about mental health and supportive environments and all that kind of stuff. But today we are going to talk about your personal brand and specifically 5 things you need to decide to amplify your personal brand. So before we get into that, I haven't really aggressively promoted this, and I'm going to tell you why. I really am super pumped to be opening up enrollment for Velvet Machete Leadership Academy. This is a 10-week leadership certification course. But when I say leadership, really, this is more about leading yourself. Yeah, you're going to learn how to engage with other people. You're going to learn how to communicate better. It's not that you're not going to learn how to lead other people, but if you ask past students and the alumni from the program, they will tell you that it's really about personal development as a leader. Like if you're a leader, leading processes, leading people, this is really about digging deep and making sure that you are fortified for anything that you're up against. We rolled this out first during COVID, and I can't even begin to talk about what a game changer it was, not just for my students, but for me too. I mean, I've just created the best relationships. So let me tell you a little bit about it, and I'm going to tell you why I did not heavily promote this. So first of all, it's 10 weeks. We meet we'll meet on Monday. It kicks off on Monday. So you have just a few days to get this, to enroll. And then you'll get all of your little mini bite-sized lessons. Everything is like super quick because I know you're busy. And so we need to be able to digest this very quickly and fit it into, what limited time we have to work on ourselves, right? And then you get a week off. And then we meet again, and then you get a week off. So you always have an implementation week in between, because the majority of the people who are in this are either business owners or they are in really intense companies that they work for. So we are going to cover building your personal brand. I'm going to cover that. That is the baseline. And that just comes with an incredible amount of self-awareness. And this particular cohort, I'm actually giving some bonus personality assessments, and we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that and also kind of carry that theme throughout the 10 weeks, because I think that's like ultimately the most important part. That is the foundation. That is a stable part. Then we move on to building supportive environments so that you create systems and structures that uniquely support your efforts. And then we're going to move on to mastering your communication. So that's all about speaking with authority while listening with intent so that you can drive results. We're not just trying to communicate to, sound eloquent. We want to communicate so we can drive results, so we can get what we want, right? Like ultimately we're communicating influentially. And then we're going to master your engagement. So that's about seeing and harvesting the greatness in others, and then knowing how to pull all that together to rally support for where it is you're trying to go. And then ultimately we're going to build your influence, which is guiding and focusing people and processes towards success via your influence, which is all underpinned by your personal brand and setting up processes and environments around you to support that brand, and the communication, which supports your brand, and the engagement that you can do because now you know how to communicate, blah, blah, blah. Do you see how it all ties together? It's a beautiful path to influence. And I guess what I want to express is, you're going to set goals, and it might not have anything to do with this program. It could be that you have a goal and you know that this program is going to help you, fortify yourself for that. And my operations manager, also an alumni of the program, is how I met her. Amy is going to hold you accountable every single week to moving towards your goals. So, like, bottom line, even just if you want 10 weeks of accountability, 10 weeks of access to me, like, I'm in it. You can ask. Like, I have literally pulled off the side of the road to help a student who was in crisis. Like, that's the level that we go into. And we only do it once a year. That's why, because we are all in. And I wouldn't commit to that if it wasn't something I could fully show up for you. So, maybe you don't have the resources right now to do one-on-one coaching with me, but this is something that I'm telling you is going to stay with you for the rest of your life. So I did not heavily promote this because I only want people who are truly committed, like truly want to be a part of this. I have some alumni coming back. I have some new people that I'm super excited about working with, but honestly, please don't register if you're not going to show up. Don't register if you're not willing to do the work. Don't register if you don't want to be encouraged and to be a part of a really fantastic group of critical thinkers who constantly are helping each other and strategizing ways that they can improve. I mean, we've had everything from business shifts to businesses being birthed. We've had podcasts being birthed. We've had, people really elevating in their career, changing companies. I mean, it's all happened. It is beautiful and wonderful. And I'm so excited. So if this is something for you, and then we'll get into today's topic, then go to velvetmachete.com/academy. And you can register there. There's FAQs, whatever. And of course, if you have questions, email me, amber@amberhurdle.com. My email is literally all over the place, which is why I get constant spam and pitches, but I'm always looking out for your emails, especially around these times, or if there's a really critical episode. And if I can't get to it, I'll make sure that Amy has it under control, or Jean or somebody. So that's that. velvetmachete.leadership.com/academy, or you can go to amberhurdle.com and then go to I think it's offerings and just kind of navigate down. I think it's Velvet Machete Leadership. You click on that, then you click on Academy, blah, blah, blah. Cool. All right. Y'all know I'm not a big salesy person, but shame on me if I don't tell you that this opportunity is here. At the time of this recording, this will air on Thursday, June 9th. We're actually going to have kind of a get to know you little cocktail hour on Zoom tonight, if you're listening to this the day that it releases, but you can register until Sunday. So we start off on Monday. And even at that point, if you need to slide in, just let us know and we will let you know, but you have to be committed. The end. You have to be committed. You got to show up. You got to want this. I can't care more than you care. So again, don't register unless you really want to be held accountable. All right. So let's talk about the 5 things that you have to decide in order to really amplify your personal brand. And I just, I kind of have just some sloppy little notes here. I didn't have them all typed up and pretty. I'm just kind of on my piece of paper. So the first thing that I want you to decide upon as let me back up. Personal brand. What is personal brand? Personal brand. I love Jeff Bezos' take on it. And a lot of people rip this off in the branding world, and they try to change one word and say, oh, I came up with that. No, you didn't. Jeff Bezos said, your personal brand is what people are saying about you when you're not in the room. That's something. Okay. So what are people saying about you when you're not in the room? What are people saying about you when you're not in the room and they're discussing who's going to get the raise? What are people saying about you when you're not in the room and they're discussing who are we going to hire? What company are we going to hire to, support us in our marketing? And what are people saying when you're not in the room, when they're deciding if they're going to give you a board appointment or not? or somebody else is competing against you. What are people saying about you when you're not in the room, when you want to be a part of a particular group of people? You're interested romantically in somebody. Like, your personal brand should be woven and consistent through every area of your life: volunteer, family, friends. That doesn't mean that you're not going to show up slightly different for one group versus another. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I go to the bar, I'm probably going to act just slightly different than if I'm on the second pew at church. Not terribly different, to be quite honest. But, I mean, we all kind of like adapt a little bit to our environments, but really who you are is who you are. And that's how you should be showing up consistently. So now that we know what a personal brand is, and it's not some kind of, PR campaign or Instagram strategy, your personal brand, whether you're a leader in an organization, a business owner, maybe you're an influencer, but everybody has one. Okay. So number one, in order, I need you to decide this in order to amplify your personal brand, is you need to decide what you want people to think of you when they think of you. Make sense? What are people saying about you when they think of you? What comes to mind when people think about you? Decide what you want people to think of when they think of you. Decide, you can write this down, decide what you want people to think of when they think of you. So for me, obviously, most people know that I'm all about branding. And I could be at a cocktail party or a dinner with a bunch of people, and somebody will say something, and then somebody will look down the table and they'll be like, well, Amber, what do you think? You're the branding queen. Or like, well, should I wear this or no? Because like, is that on par for my brand? People come to me for business advice. If I had $1 for every person who asked me to look at their logo, I would be a very rich woman. But I always respond like, I'm not your ideal customer, so I am not helpful. Like, I could tell you if it looks professional or not, but I don't know what I need to know more about your ideal customer. So all that to say, I'm also known as the Velvet Machete, right? So I'm going to shoot you straight, but I'm going to do it from a place of love. And so you always know what you're getting with me. You always know, like, where you stand with me. I don't mince words. I don't put on airs. Like, I am who I am, and I'm going to let you know what I think, but I'm not going to do it in a hateful way. If I have something hateful towards you, I'm probably just not going to talk to you at all, because then that's going to be all machete, no velvet. And that's not how I roll. Sometimes that might sneak out, but hopefully not often. So I used myself as an example because you follow me and you listen to the podcast, but I want you to think about you, turn inwards. Is there a special talent that you have, something that you are remarkably good at, or that you're a little bit different, than your competition? Or like, when I say competition, I don't just mean like your business competition. I mean like somebody else who does what you do in your organization. Let me give you an example of this. So I have somebody that was in Velvet Machete leadership, and she was in an accounting role, in a finance role rather. And but she also had like this musical background, and she was like this super creative person, and she was an expert storyteller. And what we realized about her personal brand was that, yeah, she could give you all the numbers, and she could tell you how to get your numbers. And, she worked in an organization and dealt with different departments. But what she was really great at, which is not common in that type of role, is she was able to help the different managers look at their P&L, look at their numbers, and tell the story of the numbers. And you're like, what does that even mean, Amber? Who cares? If people understand the story behind the numbers, they understand how you got to where you are, or like what's not quite going right, or what modifications need to be made in order to stay on track for your business goals, then that's a whole different thing. People trust people who can tell the story and not just show a spreadsheet that has a bunch of figures on it that, might go over some people's head. She was remarkable at building those relationships, creatively looking at the numbers, helping people reconfigure their budgets or their forecasting, and then help them tell the story of their numbers, not only to their team, but to senior leadership. And then everybody was on the same page and everybody knew that they were swimming in the same direction. And everyone understood where everybody was financially, department level and as a company. And when you have that financial acumen and you're confident in your finances, then that's a whole different ball game when it comes to business. So maybe it is a talent like that. Maybe it is like, oh, I'm really good at breaking this down and helping people share how we got here, or what does this even mean for the company? It could be that you want to be known for a particular type of work. So I have a client and he is a COO and he is known as an integrator. So if you haven't read Rocket Fuel, you don't understand, it's like the EOS, Entrepreneurial Operating System. It's a book in that series. Then you have visionaries. That's me. Big picture thinkers, like ideas all day long, definitely can move mountains, make things happen, but maybe not so great on 100% of the execution. It's like I could get it 80% of the way there, and then it's like Groundhog Day every single day because I've lost interest. So people like me need an integrator, like Amy, who works for me, our operations manager. She makes sure that we, get the touchdown. Like I can get it pretty far, I get it close to the end zone, and then she makes sure that we actually, cross over and get the TD. So he is known as an integrator. Like he is an operations guy. That is a big part of his personal brand. It's about empowering visionaries to be able to really see through their amazing ideas so that they're not wasted, so that they can reach their goals because they've got this powerful integrator making sure everything is happening. So that's another example. Some people might consider themselves more creative. Some people might consider themselves more analytical. That's something that you can add to what people think of when they think of you. I'm in Nashville. There's a lot of music people here and in entertainment. And I've got a lot of that in my work history and also in my client base or have over the years. And, that's definitely something like, if you're in LA and you're an actor, like that's part of your brand. And if you're, in the music industry, that's part of your brand. Maybe you're not in the music industry. Maybe you are, I don't know, like a risk management person, but you also are in a band and play bass. Like that could be part of your brand. Like, oh yeah, well, he's kind of like, the killjoy because he's always mitigating risk, but man, he's cool. He plays bass. We went to go see him at a show last week and it was super fun. And now that's something that people think of when they think of him. And there's just a little more of like a softening, if you will. There's camaraderie that's built. I'm going to give you one more example. I was working with a senior leader who literally, and I'm using that word, literally had a steel rod up his back because he had back surgery. And so he had to do pretty consistent sales in a big way and he was like the face of the brand. And he was super stiff. If you're watching me on YouTube, it's like he was stiff. And when he talked, he was stiff and he would turn this way and he'd turn that way, looking like he had a steel rod up his back. And I was like, oh, this isn't going to work. So I ended up having a meal with him and a bunch of other people and realized very quickly that we were the two big foodies at the table. And we were like food pushing on everybody and ordering weird things and like, just, goat cheese and avocado ice cream and just things. And we were having like the time of our lives. And I'm like, okay, here's something about this guy that I could pull on. Come to find out, he was also way into like heavy metal. He had a fantastic art collection. Like there's all these interesting things about him that I was able to pull out. And so there was a magazine that came out and there was like, a full spread about him and his wife and his house. And I worked with the marketing department to ensure that he was presented in a way that there was things that people could grab onto. So he wasn't seen as a stiff former accountant, Dartmouth graduate, stiff person. He had all of these different interesting things about him that were really creative and very artistic. and unusual for somebody in his position. So once people started catching on to that, then they were able to find things to attach to. So some people are like, oh my gosh, yes, Metallica, that I remember seeing them in concert, blah, blah. So that's a conversation they could have. Somebody else is like, oh my gosh, okay, so when you go to Boston, you have to go to this restaurant. When you have a personal brand, what you're doing is you're providing people a way to connect with you, a way to like file you away in their brain of where you fit in their ecosystem of people. And so if you decide what you want people to think of when they think of you, now you're in control of your own narrative. People are going to have a brand about you, whether you position yourself or not. People are going to assume things about you. They're going to identify you in a way that works for them or is their perception. So you can either proactively put some things out there to show that side of you, or you can just let it be for chance and let people decide whatever they want to think of about you. And I always go back to, remember that girl or that guy in high school that you thought was super snobby, and come to find out they were really just super shy. And so you made assumptions about them and you gave them a personal brand of somebody who was, snobbish or elitist or whatever. But the truth was they were shy. They probably had lots of beautiful characteristics that they just didn't know to promote, because of course we're young and we're all trying to just not stand out in junior high and high school. And now we're adults. You're like, you got to stand out. You got to be different. So we got to unravel all of that from high school, right? Okay. So number one, we want to decide what you want people to think of when they think of you. Number two, I want you to decide on your communication style and be consistent. All right. So for those of you on YouTube, I don't know what's happening with this hair, but we had like a torrential downpour. So just looking at it going like, ooh, don't look down, Amber. Carry on. All right. So decide your communication style and be consistent. What does that mean? Many people have described my communication style as colorful. Some people describe me as eloquent. And I'm a professional speaker and a podcaster and an author. So hopefully I can string a few words together. But those are things that are things that people can anticipate with me. I'm going to say sometimes off-colored things. Sometimes I'm going to use words or create visuals that are like a little off the mark, a little off the path. And I'm going to make people think a little bit differently. That's my style. That's what I'm going to do. Some people might incorporate a lot of humor into their communication style. Some people might be very direct and to the point, but not unkind. Maybe they have a little more Machete than Velvet. And then, some people might be very nurturing in their communication. They might be very loving and very supportive. And whenever you have a conversation with them, you just feel warm and like safe. So think about what that is for you. And, if you don't know, text like 5 people that you talk to regularly and say like, when you communicate with me, how would you describe that? Or what do you think of when you think about like my communication style? What are some words that come to mind? When we think about your heroes, because oftentimes, for example, I've always admired Joyce Meyer. She is a female minister, kind of a televangelist. I happen to know because of the 501c3s that whatever her ministry, Joyce Meyer Ministries, donates to. I know that she gives a ton of money away and that she really nurtures her audience. So when I say televangelist, I don't mean somebody who's like, stealing poor people's money. She does a lot of good work. So side note, Joyce Meyer is to the point. She's very straightforward. She's going to tell you what you need to hear. She's going to say hard things. She's going to encourage you. She's going to tell on herself. And she is going to be humorous along the way, and not like forced humor, but just kind of like she's going to call it for what it is and say the things that are obvious and maybe other people don't want to say. And so when I think about her and then I think about, well, why am I attracted to her? And it's like, well, because that's how I am. That's my style. And so I can look at somebody who's well ahead of me, who's also on the stage, who also has TV shows and, podcasts and radio shows and everything. And I can see myself in her. That doesn't mean I copied her. That doesn't mean that I'm trying to be her. It's just that's a similarity. So if you're having a hard time deciding your communication style and being consistent, I want you to think about who your heroes are. Who do you look up to? And then there's probably something in that that makes you attracted to it because you see a piece of yourself in that person. So ask your friends, pay attention to the style of your emails, of your text messages, of your social media posts. See what consistent themes pop up. Are you funny? Are you very thorough? Some people are really great at explaining things verbally. That's not really my thing. I'm very visual. It's just everybody's different. So ask your friends, pay attention to your communication, and look to your heroes or the people that you look up to, and really decide, what do I want to be known for? How does my communication style support my personal brand? Number 3, decide your style and rock it. Now, this is kind of a challenge for some people. And let me tell you, I get a lot of questions about fashion. Thanks, mom and dad, for giving me fashion. About, my makeup or hair, or how do I do this or how do I do that? And consistently, it's like, I don't really understand my style. Like, I don't have a style. And I'm like, yeah, you do. You might not like your style currently, but you do have a style. We all have a style. Maybe you're safe. Maybe you're somebody who just picks up whatever is at your local boutique because it's trendy and you wear it, whether it looks good on you or not. There's a lot of that going around in my neck of the woods. No judgment, just saying sometimes I just want to pull people aside and be like, that's not for your body type. And that's not a weight issue. That's not it's just like, we're all shaped differently. I have really broad shoulders. My lats are spread. Like, I've got a very strong back. I'm larger chested. My belly button is not too far from the bottom of my rib cage. I mean, I have like almost no waist. And so I can be like, oh, poor me, I look bigger on top, or I can just dress accordingly. That's it. I need to wear shirts that kind of hit me at my hip bone to make my torso look longer. I'm wearing a turtleneck right now, or like a mock turtleneck. That's not very, but look, I have this opening here because I need something. I don't have a super long neck, and then I'm bulky up top. And listen, do not inbox me. Do not write me and be like, stop beating yourself up. I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. God made me in his image. I have no problem with my body. I work out and I do all the things. Sometimes a little bit heavier, sometimes a little bit lighter. Sometimes I'm super ripped, sometimes a little bit softer. It is what it is. It's whatever's going on in the season of my life. I'm not picking on my body. I'm acknowledging how I'm shaped. And then you dress accordingly. So I can't wear like Henley necklines because then I look like SpongeBob SquarePants. Like a crop shirt with a Henley neckline, I would look ridiculous. I need V cut. I need scoop neck. I need things that elongate that part. And then I need to make sure that my shirts are a little bit longer. I could go on and on about that, but if you don't know and you can afford to do this, work with a stylist, but don't just get with any old stylist who looks cute on Instagram and makes everybody look the same. One thing that I want you to ask about are your vertical proportions. We all talk about like our measurements, like your bust and your shoulders and your hips and your waist and all that kind of stuff. But really, your vertical proportions have a lot to do with what's going to look good on you. So when I'm talking about vertical proportions, it's like the 3 sections of your body, like your upper body, your mid body, and your lower body. And then, like I am perfectly proportioned. That's not a good thing, PS. It's not a good thing. You want to be a little off kilter for ideal. It doesn't matter to me. I'm super happy with who I am and how God made me. It is, like you ought to be, right? Because it's not going to change. So, and then the other thing too, some people are like, well, I just don't really have a style. And I say you do. What are you attracted to? Like what colors do you like? Do those colors complement your skin? Like I look like fall all the time. You're not going to see me in bright pink or anything like that. What looks good when you hold it up against your skin? Do you look like death or do you look happy and bright? When you put something on your body, does it lay on it correctly? Or are you, are your shoulders all tight and, you don't feel good moving around in it? Not everybody's made for a skinny jean. Not everybody's made for a low rise jean. Not everybody's made for a wide cut jean or a bell bottom. So go to places like Buckle, for example. They will help you pick out the perfect jeans for your body type. You can go to Nordstrom's or Dillard's, trying to think where else. And there's actual personal shoppers. Like I have my woman at Dillard's that I can text message. Like I have her Dillard's cell phone, I have her personal cell phone. And I can be like, I've got to do a TV interview in, Arizona. And, this is what the set looks like. And she will have things hanging for me in the dressing room when I get there. She knows my sizes. She keeps up with everything. It costs you nothing. So take advantage of this. Get out of TJ Maxx for a hot minute. I'm not saying don't shop there. I do all the time. Get those key pieces that fit your body and then go to TJ Maxx and all those different places to like fill in the things that I call more like disposable clothes. But when you decide your style and you rock it, that's another piece of consistency that shows who you are. You're going to see me like, I take the stage and, I can't say this. I call them butt kicker boots, only I use the A word. I wear a lot of pleather, a lot of edgier stuff. Like I'm not wear the Michelle Obama, A-line sleeveless dress. Like looks amazing on her. That's not for me. It's just not my style. And I have worn that on stage before and I felt horribly uncomfortable and I hated the video afterwards because that's not me. Like my dad's a rock and roll drummer. That's how I was raised. Like I just, I'm going to wear whatever. I'm a little bit edgy, velvet machete. Hello. And my style is going to be a little bit edgy and I'm usually going to be slightly overdressed at all times. So what is that for you? Maybe you're more conservative. Like I had a fellow speaker friend and she was like, I just feel frumpy all the time. And I'm like, well, you're a more conservative dresser. You're a classic style. Technically, I'm a classic style too. I just add like, cheetah print and stuff like that. But she's a classic style. And that's part of like her brand. That's how she shows up. She's very classic. She's very consistent. People feel safe with her. She's trusted. They know that she's going to pull from the past to move towards the future. They know that there's never going to be surprises with her. She is a very consistent, trusted woman, and her dress needs to look like that too. If she like had super chunky, big bling bling jewelry, they'd be like, "Who are you? And what did you do with our consultant?" So, you don't have to be like a fashion magazine. In fact, most of that stuff looks pretty ridiculous. Like if you've ever looked at Fashion Week in Paris or New York, it's ridiculous. Like nobody's wearing those clothes. That is an exaggeration of the concept that the designer is thinking for that season. And then once it trickles down to us, you get a little more of a normal product. If you've ever watched The Devil Wears Prada, they kind of talk you through that process and it's pretty funny. So check it out. Okay, number 4. You need to decide who you want to align with. Now, criminals have, quote, known associates that kind of stay in their record because they are affiliated with other bad guys. And they know if we find these bad guys, we might find that bad guy. Or if this guy or gal gets into trouble, it's likely that these other ones are too. And I'm pointing that out because who you associate with is going to become part of your brand. So who are you hanging out with? Who do people think are your comrades? Whether this is personally, and people are like, oh, you hang out with those people, so you must be like this. Or it could be at work. If you're hanging out with Negative Nancy or Negative Ned, that's not good for your brand. You're not going to get a promotion if you're associated with Negative Nancy and Negative Ned. Now, I'm not asking you to be elitist and to leave people out of your life that, are very deserving human beings. I'm just saying that who you roll with is going to be a reflection of you, because when people look to them and they see you with them, they can make some assumptions that you have things in common or you would not be spending time with each other. So it's very important that professionally, we'll just keep it professionally for now, that you align with, like, let's just say you're a business owner. You need to align with other business owners who share your values. You need to align with with other business owners who are grinding as hard as you are, or who are definitely minding their shop. Just because you own a business doesn't mean that you're really minding your shop. I know a lot of people who they have a business barely, and then they don't really pay attention to it, or they're always on vacation, or like they just don't uphold what they've committed to do for their customers. And so if you're associated with that, then people are going to think you're flaky. And in the same instance, really networking within your organization, like internal networking, and making sure that you are connected to the senior leaders that you want to be like, that you want to be associated with, that your peers, your interdepartmental peers, or the peers within your department, that you're running with the stallions, like attracts like. And if you're not there yet, then you need to prove yourself to get there. And I'm not trying to tell you to be someone that you're not. I'm saying that if you want a seat at the big kids table, then you better start acting like a big kid. Okay. Start asking questions about the financials. Start building your business acumen more. Step into leadership roles, volunteer to take on more difficult assignments, help another department or another, group within your department with something, and step up. Don't be with the negative Nancy's. Don't be with the cruise controllers. Step up into the space where the people exist that you want to be like, that you want to be known for. Okay. Your known associates are a reflection of you. So choose very wisely. You know how much I beat this drum about your people environment and who are you affiliated with, because it's not just about your reputation. It's about your ability to evolve as a human. Is your ability to really be able to step into your own greatness. And like life it's a journey. So like, let's enjoy today. But, I had to separate myself from people. I'm like, you know what? I don't binge drink during the week. So that's not for me. And I don't want to be associated with that. So like, I don't have any animosity, but like, go do you, like, go do whatever it is that you're doing. And I'm going to stay in my lane, and I'm going to, take care of my body, and I'm going to do active things. I'm not going to sit around and just eat and drink. Like, that's not who I am. That's not what I'm about. And if I did that, then I don't show up for my people the next day. I don't show up for myself in a compelling way. So are you showing up for yourself when you are bending who you are to be with these people, whether it's at work or in your personal life? So it's not just about your professional reputation or your personal reputation because of who you're hanging out with. Who you're hanging out with impacts your ability to continue to grow, to tap into that self-awareness, to be able to build supportive environments around you so that you can communicate and engage and ultimately be influential and have the kind of life, business, career that you want. Okay, number 5. Decide on your boundaries and use them to protect your brand. Decide on your boundaries and use them to protect your brand. Listen, I could very easily be taken advantage of, and I have been more times than I care to admit. And when you are savior to the world and you forget to send your cape to the dry cleaners, people are going to get as much out of you as they possibly can because you'll let them. It's as simple as that. And so you really need to decide both energetically, like what is your bandwidth? What is under your umbrella that you're responsible for? What aligns with your values? What aligns with your goals? What types of commitments, people, activities, extra effort is going to help you move towards the person you want to become? What is going to move you towards your goals? What's going to take you away from your goals? What's going to move you away from who you want to become? And so you really have to set those boundaries mentally and then physically. And you're going to annoy people because guess what? When they can't make you do what they want you to do, that's going to annoy them. But that's not your problem because you have a personal brand. And that personal brand is what you use to mobilize your life towards your becoming. Your personal brand is the vehicle that you get into that drives you through life and especially drives you through your career so that you can become your most influential and do all of the amazing things that you were designed to do. We all came to this planet with gifts and talents. And whether you believe in God or you say source or your highest self or the universe or, the master energy. I mean, it's so many people say it so many different ways. I'm going to say God because that's what I'm comfortable with. And that's my wisdom tradition, my belief system. God gave each of us amazing things that are unique to us that we can use in service to others. And like statistically, scientifically, it has been proven that pure joy and contentment and happiness in life comes from using our gifts in service to other people. That's it. If you're not in service to other people and your whole life is just about you, and I'm not saying be a doormat, I'm talking about boundaries. Decide on your boundaries and use them to protect your brand. I'm saying you have very special things about you, whether you have discovered those or not. Hopefully you'll go on this journey. Maybe you'll join the Velvet Machete Leadership Academy and let me help you get there. You are specifically designed to do some really cool things and to help a lot of people while you are walking on this planet. And some of us have longer than others, and we don't know when that time, that expiration date is coming. But I always think every single day that I could get hit by a bus this afternoon. And I want to maximize my time while I'm on this planet, which is why I podcast. Listen, this is not easy. I say this all the time. This is not like, oh, I've got nothing else to do. Let me just, coordinate a podcast. Like I've got a whole team, like it costs money. It's a whole thing. So, but I do it because I know what God gifted me with. And I know that this is a way that I can serve other people and not everybody can coach with me. Right. So this is my way of offering free. No, you can't take me out to coffee. I drown in coffee. I accepted all my pick your brain dates and I'm not being ugly about that. Like I wish I could, but I can't. So I put out this kind of free content. What is it that you do in service to others? And then put boundaries around your life that protects your ability to do that. So number one, to recap, decide what you want people to think of when they think of you. Number two, decide your communication style and be consistent with it. Number three, decide on your style and rock it. And number four, decide who you want to align with. Who are your known associates? Number five, decide on your boundaries and use them to protect your personal brand. And if you do these 5 things, you can amplify your personal brand. You can fast track your ability to really have that personal brand out there where people know what to expect of you. They know what you have to offer. And when they think of you, they think of something that you want them to believe about you and that you want them to say about you when you're not in the room and not what they just decide on their own. Because listen, PR 101 is you have to frame the narrative before somebody else does. That is PR 101. That is branding 101. Set the brand, be intentional, follow these 5 things. You know what? I'm just going to set something on your calendar to work on this, like maybe once a week for the next 5 weeks. And then I dare you to email me and let me know what has shifted since you've been intentional with each of these steps. And before we depart today, just a reminder, tick, tick, tick. If you want to work with me this year and you don't want to hire my team for consulting, or you're not going to do one-on-one coaching or, any of those things, if you want access to me in an affordable way, then we have payment plans, the whole shebang. If the payment plan doesn't work for you, get with me. I'm more about the right people being in this cohort than I am about lots of people being in this cohort. So if that is you, then please go to velvetmachete.com/academy. All of that will be in the show notes. And invest in yourself. Like, I'm not BSing you. I'm not saying like, oh, you should work with me because if you don't, you're not investing in yourself. But legit, first of all, entrepreneurship is the number one personal development program in the world. Nothing about your business is going to work if you're not working right inside. Okay. So you have to work on you. And if you're in a leadership role within a company, again, you just have to be very strong in who you are so you don't get lost in the corporate tide, so you don't get whiplashed around the organization and let other people define your career for you. Like, you need to define your career. And I'll add one thing that I forgot to say at the top of the show. We do give a digitally verified certification for completing this course. So what that means and why we do that is a lot of companies, especially like Fortune 500 companies, Fortune 100 companies, they will do tuition reimbursement. They might not be like, oh yeah, let me invest this money on you in the front end because maybe they're cutting back on professional development dollars or whatever. But most companies don't cut back on their tuition reimbursement. So ask your leader, ask your company, go to HR, leadership and development, or whoever it is that's in charge of that, and ask them that if you get an actual digitally verified certification, if they will give you a full or partial refund for your education. So that's the end. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And I appreciate you as always hanging out with me. Listen, I'm so committed to you, and you know how this is like happens every episode. When the truth comes, I've got tears behind my eyes, and I just, so many years now we've been doing this together. And I get your emails and get your DMs and I get like tearful voice notes, and I get letters in the mail. And I just want you to know that you're not in this alone. It is a wonky time in the world right now. And I just really want you to focus on the only thing that you have control over. And that is you. That is your experience. No matter what's happening out there in the world, no matter who is coming at you, you have the opportunity to control your own experience. And the more self-aware you are, the more you understand who you are, what you need, the more you can start seeing what makes other people tick. And it just makes life that much easier to navigate. And so that's why I'm super crazy passionate about this. That's why I'm all about branding, because I want you to have that unshakable confidence in who you are, what you're about, and tell everybody else they can kiss it. Right. So whether you join Velvet Machete Leadership Academy or not, I just appreciate you being a listener and working on yourself. And I want to encourage you to continue to do that, whether you do it through, buying my book or listening to the podcast, listening to other podcasts, reading other books. Keep working on you. Keep working on your brand. I'm telling you, if you can define your own reality and other people buy into that storyline, the true storyline, not some fabricated something, but when people understand who you are, what you're about, and what people and opportunities need to come to you, I'm telling you right now that when you have a strong personal brand, the right people, the right opportunities will naturally come to you. And with that, I'm going to wish you the best, and I will see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Bombshell Business Podcast. Visit amberhurdle.com for more resources like show notes, and check out thebombshellbusinesswoman.com to grab my book and download the free bonuses.